good? Welcome to the Writer's Room. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today we are going to be discussing Stars P-Valley Season 2. This is going to be episode 1 of Season 2, and it starts off with our main man from The Chi, Mr. Rolando Boyce. He is playing in this briefly in the beginning. It's basically him in a hotel room or maybe an apartment with all these bad kids running around. And my man is just like, all right, I need to go. So we then get him going into the car. He does leave and tell his wife that, hey, I'll be back. I'm going to the store. Now, as he's riding around, we do see that to the right, there's a billboard and a sign pointing towards P-Valley. And then as he looks over to his left, who do we see? We see a billboard of Pastor Patrice. You guessed it. And as you can see, Pastor Patrice is not liked. It doesn't seem by any of the community because everybody knows she low-key is fake. Or, I don't know, maybe Mercedes wrote that on her billboard. But we continue on with the scene, and we have our man. He pulls into P-Valley, and he really wants Autumn. He's checking for Autumn right now, but yeah, Big L's like, no, she's not a part of this. But she does take his money, and he says that he wants the Mercedes experience. And as he goes into this car wash themed strip tease, I suppose, it's a lot that's going on. And then he gets to Mercedes, and I mean, he loses it when he sees Mercedes, and that's funny. But then right after this scene, we do get into the girls, and they're arguing and bickering because Mercedes is just like, look, I'm doing all of this work, and it's like we're getting little to nothing for this. And all of the girls are just wanting to know when things will go back to normal, because this is when we do find out how deep they are in the middle of this pandemic. And then we do cut into where they're talking about Keyshawn. Mercedes is like, do not bring that chick up. We do not know Keyshawn's name around here. Because if you don't remember, Keyshawn actually pulled a gun out on Diamond trying to defend Derek. And Mercedes is very much cut and dry about this whole thing and is like, you don't do that to family. So she doesn't even want to hear Keyshawn's name. And you do see Clifford's face when they're talking about Lil Murda and Keyshawn and everything. And he's actually still sad about the whole thing. And clearly him and Lil Murda ain't really cleared up everything that happened on murder night. Now later we do move into the scene with Clifford actually talking to Hailey and discussing it with her. Like, hey, how can we get these girls paid more? And Autumn Night is like, I don't have that money. Like, I gave you the rest of the money. And Clifford is telling her what all he spent on, which was to take care of the girls during the pandemic because they literally had nothing to go to. And also Big L was trying to fix the club that Hailey actually killed homeboy in, you know, her abusive ex-husband. We then cut into the next scene, which is the next morning, and that's with Hailey waking up. Seems to be pretty early by Mercedes pleasuring herself, okay? Which we later find out in the scene where Mercedes comes out and she's at the breakfast table with Hailey. Now in this scene, Hailey is discussing with Mercedes that, hey, we need to find new ways of making money at the Pink. So I think it's a good idea if we let in new blood. And of course, Mercedes is like, no, I'm not doing that. Hailey then reminds Mercedes that her shoulder is messed up and she's trying to hide it, but she's slowly getting worse over time and it's only going to hurt herself, and that they need new blood. Why? Because Gidget and Keyshawn are no longer at the club. Keyshawn decided to move on after the whole Lil Murda video. She's doing Instagram, and Gidget decided to go somewhere else. So right now, the Pink is needing new blood. The Pink needs new people, and Mercedes just has to be okay with that. We do get into the next scene with our boy Andrew and his wife. And his wife comes up, she's like marked up and everything, and we see that Andrew is playing games, and she's basically like, hey, thanks, you were supposed to refill the almond milk. And we find out that his wife is actually a nurse and she's treating COVID patients, so she herself kind of has to be locked away from Andrew and everyone else that lives in the house with her. She picks up his phone and she says a text message from Eloise, but then she says Hailey's name. And I mean, my man gets up so fast to snatch that phone from her. If that wasn't a sign, girl, I don't know. We do find out in this scene that Hailey texted him to send her condolences about the mayor. Now, we do know that from season 1 that the mayor and Andrew were pretty close. Andrew was like a son to him. I believe that he was his godfather. Because of his relationship with his godfather, he's making it known that he's going to go to this funeral, and his wife is completely against it because we all know that during the height of the pandemic, the nurses, doctors, and all medical personnel was going through it. They were all going through it because of the death and the uncertainty surrounding it, and she just didn't want any parts of it. So this was a really good moment of just like solid acting and solid storytelling. Next, we move on to our boy, Lil Murda. So Lil Murda is inside of the kitchen and he's just about to cook something. And as you see, Lil Murda is actually still in this trap house and he's trying to get out, and basically he's like, we need another hit. I need another hit. So he starts doing this beatboxing, and I'm not gonna lie, it was like going hard. He starts going with the cereal boxes and smashing on like the buckets and stuff. And he's going with a new song, and I think this song is gonna be a smash, just like M.I. Cricket letter, I, cricket letter, I. Humpback, I. Ayy. But then we move on to him stepping outside, and he sees this blue car that rolls on by. It kind of looks like the Tommy car from Power, if you guys watch that. But we see this guy ask him, hey, when you coming out with another smash, like when you coming out with another hit, the hood need one. And he's like, it's coming. But he does see in the back seat, we see an envious looking guy in the back. And for a minute, it took me a while to realize who this is. And it's our boy Pico from the first season. I don't know if you guys remember. I was having trouble remembering, to be honest, like, who is this guy? And then I remembered. Lil Murda actually beat him up like to a pulp. He beat him at the strip club on Murder Night. I believe it was Murder Night, where he was called a punk by Pico, and he ended up beating him up. So I think Pico, if you look at his face and you look at Lil Murda, he knows that something is going down. He doesn't understand, because right now it still seems like, you know, they cool or whatnot. They both hold up their affiliation signs and all of that. But clearly Pico's up to something, so we got to keep an eye on him. Next, we get into our girl, Miss Mississippi. We have not seen her this whole time. She looks beautiful and stunning per usual. Shout out to my girl who plays Miss Mississippi. But she is cooped up in the house with Derek. Derek won't let her leave. And in this moment, it does have a really nice cinematic feel where Derek is watching her live and he's like, hey, it was over 400,000 people in the live. And the cinematographer does this thing with the phone where it shows a reflection of Derek's face, and clearly he's a little bit disgruntled about this whole thing. And he tells Mississippi, like, you are doing way too many of these, like, they're booking you, because she does have the same promoter and the same agent or manager as Lil Murda. So the manager is booking her for all of these things, and Derek is like, no, I need a job, like, I've gotten laid off, I don't have any money. And so it comes off as though he's a little bit jealous of the success that Miss Mississippi has garnered. And we all know that Miss Mississippi did pull a gun out on Diamond last season because of Derek. And I think she's starting to really feel bad about this, because you can see it in her eyes, you can see it in her movements, and just how she's carrying herself around Derek, that she's not really feeling good about how everything turned out on Murder Night. So in hopes of trying to get out of the house, Miss Mississippi actually hides all of the diapers and throws them away, or whatever the case may be, so that she can go to the store. We then get into the next scene, and okay guys, Pastor Patrice gets on my last nerve. But I ain't gonna lie, she looks pretty good in this picture. But we have Pastor Patrice, and she actually carried on with this whole thing of taking Mercedes' spot. So Pastor Patrice is just going through this drive and having everyone come and help get relief from the pandemic, because as we all know, people were laid off. A lot of people were laid off from their jobs during the pandemic. So I guess this is kudos to Miss Patrice. The next thing that we get into, we have Big L and Uncle Clifford, and they're just fixing up the VIP room at the Pink, because earlier in the scenes when the girls were arguing and bickering about money and splitting, they did find out that the pandemic, the lockdown, had been lifted. So they're excited, they're ready to start and open the Pink back up. Autumn Knight comes in and she does scare them on this part, which I'm like, you guys, that was a slick move. But Autumn Knight comes in and she sees blood splatter on the walls and she's like, hey, you guys, we need to paint this red because blood is always going to seep through. And in this part, it was actually kind of funny because Uncle Clifford and Big L are looking at Autumn Knight like, this isn't the only body that you have. It's crazy. But we do know that the blood stains come from Autumn Knight's husband in the first season, which we found out she was running from because he was abusing her, and that's when her daughter died. Let's cut on over to Miss Mississippi. So remember I told you that Miss Mississippi threw away her diapers so that she can actually get out and go to the grocery store? Crazy. But she ended up going to the grocery store. Thankfully, Derek let her out the house. But she runs into Diamond. And this is crazy because Diamond is still shaken up by what Mississippi has done and her pulling a gun out on him, and all he was doing was trying to protect her from the real abuser. Mississippi does try to confront Diamond and just talk to him all willy-nilly, and he gets a little bit frustrated, and he's like, no, I'm not forgiving you. She basically wants to forgive and forget this whole situation as if it's not on her brain either. Now you could tell this is really doing something to Diamond's mental because he starts spazzing out on everyone who walks in and even spazzes out a little bit on Mississippi and tells her she cannot enter without her mask per the mask requirements of the CDC. So Mississippi and Diamond do have a lot of things to work through, and I think that they will work through it. We just have to be patient and keep a lookout on these two. Now we do cut over into the next scene, which is Uncle Clifford's grandmother, Ernestine, and she's basically letting us know that she is over this whole lockdown and she's over the mask and she's ready for social interaction, and I think we all were at that point. Uncle Clifford is just consoling her, and he looks on TV and he sees that the mayor is having, well, shall I say, the mayor's funeral is going on. And we do get a glimpse of the TV and we see that Andrew is on and he's talking about his godfather, the mayor, which we all know has just passed away due to COVID symptoms. And he's just talking about what he meant to the community and more importantly, what he meant to him, to Andrew. And so he's just saying that he will be coming back to set out and lay out the plans that his godfather has already written out. Now, Uncle Clifford does see this on TV, and he does decide to pay his condolences and go to the funeral, but mainly to check on Andrew to see what his plans are, or reviving his godfather's plans and making sure that the pink is completely cut out of this. Now, in this, we do see Mayor Wayne Kyle, and you guys know that Wayne Kyle is a sneaky guy, so he's also trying to bring back this casino. Now we do cut into Lil Murda, and he comes in looking for Wody, and Wody is actually in this coffin for God knows what reason, but he pops out the coffin, and Lil Murda is basically like, I need another hit, I need to get around because I have to get out the hood. At this point, Lil Murda does know that Pico is still after him, and he has to get out of this situation, and the only way that he's really going to get out is, sounds like, through a coffin or getting out the hood through money. So I don't know if this is some type of foreseeable thing where they're just foreshadowing that maybe Wody might die, and that's maybe why he popped out of the coffin. I don't know. There's a lot of theories going around. Now, Wody does tell him that we can't do this alone. You need Miss Mississippi. I can book you for tour dates, but we need Miss Mississippi to go out. And honestly, I feel like Mississippi doesn't need Lil Murda, but she does kind of need an accelerated plan so that she can get out of Derek's grasp. So I guess we'll just be on the lookout for Miss Mississippi and the decision she makes on touring with Lil Murda. As we cut into the next scene, and this is just a brief scene where Mercedes is talking to her students, and she did end up getting the gym. We found out that Autumn told Uncle Clifford that she got Mercedes that gym that she was wanting to hold dance lessons at. But all of the students are basically saying that their parents aren't going to pay for this. Like, they don't have any money. And I like this part because it does stress what was really happening during the pandemic. There were a lot of people that were out of work, that were laid off, that didn't have money. Even with the help and assistance from like unemployment and the government, it just would not work out. So we do see that Mercedes is a little bit stressed out because how is the gym going to pay for itself at this point if nobody can dance in it? The next thing we get to, we see Andrew, and he's actually at the funeral of his godfather, the mayor, and he's just really broken up about this. He's heartbroken because they were really close. But in this scene, we also see Uncle Clifford coming in fly. I mean, dripped down in this beautiful lime green. I just love this color on, like, it looks so good on these melanated individuals. But he does come up and pay his condolences, and he's trying to make sure, as he's talking to Andrew and Wayne Kyle, the pink is still not up for sale. After Uncle Clifford leaves, and with the chitlins child for his grandmother. But we do find out what the real motive of Wayne Kyle is, and that is he has not given up on this casino idea. He wants to let Andrew know, I'm 100% behind you. Let's build this casino. We cut over to this blue lit scene with Miss Mississippi, and she's singing to her daughter in this, and it's so beautiful. But I think in this moment, it's like the boiling point. You can see in her head that she is no longer wanting to take Derek's crap. And I think she's trying to find a way out because she wants more for her daughter. After we run into that scene, we do see Andrew and Autumn Night appears out of nowhere, and I have to say, I don't know what's going on with this first episode, but it is a cinematic masterpiece. I mean, the lighting is beautiful, but we do get this sweet moment between Andrew and Autumn Night. Basically, the tension is so thick. They want each other, or well, we know for sure Andrew wants Autumn, and you can see in his eyes that he might be staying longer in Chucalissa than he had intended to. Now that he's seen Autumn Night, nothing is stopping him. He's willing to give up everything. Now later, Hailey / Autumn Night is back home, and she's watching What's Love Got to Do with It, and is mouthing every single word as Mercedes is scrolling through IG, and that's when Mercedes learns by way of promo post that Pink is hiring. Excuse me? Mercedes is upset because she's already told Hailey that there is not enough cash flow at the club, and Mercedes is really upset with Autumn. Now Hailey / Autumn goes into this rant about how the girls at the club are ungrateful and spoiled, and I mean, she goes off. Mercedes then asks her if Uncle Clifford knows, and she basically shoots Mercedes down and reminds her that she is the owner of the Pink. Now in this, Mercedes does go into this funny southern dialect, pretending to be Hailey's servant as a way to mock her. She's clearly agitated with Autumn. The last scene that we get into is my man Corbin. Corbin comes to see Andre at his home to pay him a retainer fee to continue on with the casino project that they were working on in season 1. Remember, Corbin had his own little side deal away from his brothers. And after Andrew tells Corbin that the Pink is still not selling, even if there isn't a pandemic that they're in, he tells him that the new owner might, which is Hailey. And we all know that Hailey coughed up a lot of money to save the Pink. So we don't know which way this may go, because Hailey may actually sell the Pink. Now we know that although Hailey spent all this money to save the Pink and make sure that the girls are okay and make sure Mercedes has her gym and all of this stuff, so she does have a lot riding on this, she is not the complete and sole owner of the Pink. She did lend over some of her percentage, I believe it was 15%, to Uncle Clifford. So this will pose a problem in Hailey's mind. But what did you guys think of this first episode of the second season of P-Valley? I'm excited to see where the characters go and how they develop. And honestly, I'm ready for the Pink to open back up. So let me know what you think right in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And thank you for tuning into The Writer's Room. Catch you next time.